You want to hear about the NCLEX, so let's get into it. Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. My name is Samaya B, and as you can see by the title, I'm going to share with you my NCLEX exam day experience. Now, I've already done a video on my study process and the materials I use, so if you would like to see that, then here it is, or I will also link it in the description. So, arriving for the test feels like you're walking into some courthouse, you're about to go sign your life away, something, I don't know, okay? It's just very nerve-wracking, and it can just make you very anxious, like knowing that all this time that you've spent through school and studying, and you're walking into this day that you've been anticipating for months on months on months. So once you walk into the testing site, you will have to check in, you'll have to scan your palm, you'll have to take a picture. It feels like you're at the DMV. It's a lot, okay? After you do that, if you have any belongings with you, they'll give you a key, you'll put it in a locker. Me personally, I left my phone and anything that was actually very valuable to me in my car because I knew I couldn't take it with me anyway. After you finish checking in, you'll sit in the waiting area, which are just a bunch of rows of chairs all facing the same way, and you're sitting there in silence waiting for them to let you know when you can come on back. So once they tell you can come back, they'll ask you to raise your sleeves so they can see your arms, your wrists, make sure you don't have any writing or answers on you. They'll ask you to show your legs. Basically, they just want to make sure that all you have with you is yourself and your knowledge. So be mindful what you wear. Don't wear anything or bring anything that's going to prolong the process because you already have a lot on your mind. So once you're cleared to go, they're going to tell you where you can go sit. Most testing sites will give you noise canceling headphones. It is pretty quiet when you walk back there, but little things like the chairs moving or pin tapping or the clicking, if any of that makes you nervous, know that the testing site may have noise canceling headphones for you. Also, because everybody's not taking the same test as you and other people have different appointment times than you do, so people are going to be getting up, sitting down. There's going to be small noises just here and there, so be prepared for that. They also tell you that you're allowed to take breaks, so for that you just raise your hand, wait for someone to come relieve you, and you can take your break. Me personally, I did not take any breaks. It just would have made me a whole lot more nervous. Also, use the bathroom before you even go in because you want your mind to be at ease. Do as much as you can, okay, to prepare yourself. So while you're taking the test, you cannot go back. Any question that you answer, you move forward. You have to keep moving forward, of course. There is a timer that they put on the screen so that you know where you're at, so you don't have to try and calculate that time in your head while you're trying to answer questions. So that's a good thing too. So once you finish and the NCLEX determines that you're done, whether you passed or failed or not, it will just shut off. And it's super unexpected. It makes your heart drop because you're like, oh my God, I'm done. Like a million things go through your head at one time. After you do that, there are trial run questions that you have to answer. So these are additional questions to your actual NCLEX, which I was told do not count towards you at all. They're just trial questions so that they can figure out if they want to add them to the actual NCLEX later on. So they want to see how well people do with them. For me, that just gave me even more stress because I had already finished my test and I knew I was done, but you have to still sit there at that computer and go through those questions until you really get to the end of that blank screen. But no, they do not count against you, so do not panic. Now, I do want to go over some exam day do's and don'ts. So the first thing is a lot of people will say do not study the day of or the day before your exam Me personally, I do think this is a good idea because it kind of gives your mind that mental break before you have to go sit in front of that screen and your mind is going to be moving like crazy. So I actually did not listen to that, and I did that the first time around when I took my exam, and it actually is pretty pointless and it just stresses you out even more. So I would give yourself that mental break. Another thing is schedule your exam at the right time. Don't schedule your exam first thing in the morning, because Sally over here said that they scheduled their exam 8 o'clock in the morning and that was the best time for them to go, because it may not be the best time for you. The first time around, I took my exam at 8 a.m. I also had to drive an hour to my test site, and not that I'm not a morning person, but that just made me a lot more anxious than I had to be. The second time around, I scheduled my exam slot for 1 p.m. and I think that that was a much better time for me. I woke up in the morning, I had a good breakfast, I had some time to relax until I had to drive up to my test site. It really all depends on you. Do what you feel is best for you. Another huge don't on exam day, the most important thing, I cannot stress this enough, is no negative self-talk. I kid you not, this is what killed my mindset on exam day. I basically shot myself in the foot and said, boom, I'm setting you up for failure, because I basically just got inside my own head, and I definitely feel like it affects your test taking ability when you really don't believe in yourself, which I know is really hard, especially if you've already failed once, because that was my biggest thing that I had to overcome going in my second time, was that I've already failed this before. Like, what would be the difference now? But I could definitely feel the difference when I had a more positive mindset, rather than telling myself, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I won't pass, this is going to be hard for me, I'm not smart enough. Whatever the case may be, okay, sometimes we can be the meanest person to ourselves and we don't even know. Also, I don't know if I said this, but I mentioned it in my previous video about the NCLEX. I passed on my second try, not the first time. So second time around, I definitely made sure that I was not pretty much bullying myself in my head like, you're not good enough, and that negative perspective on my confidence and my ability to pass this exam. I definitely noticed that throughout the whole process of me going in, me sitting in that chair and taking the test, me leaving and going home that night, I had a much better perspective and a much better feeling when I wasn't telling myself those thoughts. So please, please, please do not self-sabotage when it comes to your mindset, okay? Lastly, pretty much ties into what I just said, but please trust yourself. Trust that you know your material. Trust that you studied the right way. Trust that you have that critical thinking ability to answer these questions correctly. Just trust that you are a good nurse. Trust yourself. That's really just it. Trust yourself. So after the exam, you are gonna walk out with a million things going through your head. Did you pass? Did you not pass? Basing it on how many questions you had or didn't have. And all you can do is relax. Take that time to breathe. Just relax and wait. You do have 48 hours, I believe, until you can view your results. A lot of people do try the PearsonVue Trick. I myself tried the PearsonVue Trick the first time, not the second time. It does work, but I have heard that it did not work and was not accurate for some people, so just do with that as you will. But I did try it the first time around. The second time around, when I actually did pass, I did not try it, because the first time I did it and I didn't pass, it just gave me so much more anxiety. I already knew from the trick that I didn't pass, and I tried to still have that hope, like, okay, well, maybe it's wrong and maybe I did pass, and I didn't, and it was a little more traumatizing. So with the PearsonVue Trick, what you do is you go back onto PearsonVue, you go to schedule your exam like you're taking it for the first time. Don't do it right after you take your test. Give it about 2 hours, I think people say. And what you do is you'll put in your card information, but you'll change the expiration date. So this allows it to not actually take money from your card. If it tells you that we recently seen that you've scheduled your exam or taken your exam, that means that you passed. If it tells you like your card information is incorrect, that means that you didn't pass because it was gonna let you process that transaction. That's what happened to me the first time. Literally devastated me. So onto the 48 hours where you actually get to see the results of your exam. You'll pay $7.95 and it'll tell you your result in either pass or fail. At the time when I was taking my exam, the number of possible questions that you could have was either 75 or 145. So the first time I definitely hit that 145. Second time around I had 115. So it wasn't a 75, but even then, like, you know, you never really know. You could have 145 and pass, you could have 145 and fail, you could have 75 and pass, you could have 75 and fail. So I kind of felt a little bit better with that 115 because it wasn't a 145, so I took it and left, okay? So that is all for my NCLEX experience in today's video. As always, if you have any questions, you can definitely leave it in the comments or feel free to DM me on Instagram. I will be doing a video as well on the emotions behind my nursing school experience and how I navigated through that. So if you would be interested in that, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you guys later.